Hello and welcome to NAB 2019. I am very excited to be here with Samuel Greene of Zoom. Sam, welcome to our little live stream.
Right on, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about a special recorder,
Yes.
the F6. Please tell me about it.
Sure, so we'll start with the basic. Anyone familiar with our F series will be very familiar with the features we have in here. The same preamps, a solid timecode generator, one line output plus a headphone output. We changed up the power options a little bit. We have an L series battery sled now, as well as a USB-C port and the AA batteries. And so, with the form factor and everything, the L series battery really makes the most sense, especially when you can get one that will power it for 12 hours for a full day on set. But that's kind of all the basic things. The most exciting thing we have here is kind of a new technology for a portable recorder, and there's two parts to it. The first is a dual AD converter, which isn't a first, but just allows for huge dynamic range and the ability to make it so that a microphone can't clip the preamp. The microphone itself will clip far before that. But we also are including the ability to record 32-bit float files.
Now, let's slow down there. I think a lot of our viewers and listeners have experienced dual A to D conversion.
Yep.
Right? So that's two separate A to D converters that overlap a little bit, is that right?
They do. They overlap in the middle of that dynamic range, and one favors the low volumes and one favors the high volumes.
And in the systems that we're familiar with, eventually that has to get dumbed back down to 24 bits.
Yes.
And so what I think is hugely special about this recorder is we can keep that full dynamic range because 32-bit floating points as a file format.
Yeah.
Now, as a file format, I don't know that I realized it, but it's an option when you import files into any major digital audio workstation.
Yeah.
24-bit, 16-bit, and then there's this 32-bit floating point.
Yeah.
So that's the secret sauce.
That is the secret sauce. And I think the important thing is to understand that 24-bit has been a standard for a long time, and it's incredible quality. But there is one small issue that everyone has experienced, whether or not they realize it, and that's that at 24-bit linear, higher volumes are recorded at a greater quality than low volumes, especially when you get really low. So,
and that's because of the math, right? You're using more bits to represent.
Exactly. In a linear bit system, the low volumes are recorded at lower bits, which means less volume options, which results in very choppy, and we've all heard 8-bit audio. This is what we're talking about, the challenges of that low volume. But with the 32-bit flow file, everything is recorded with the same integer value options, whether it's a high bit, a low bit, any volume. And so throw in that, the entire dynamic range is coming into this system. There's a couple interesting symptoms that happen with this. The first is that it's eliminated the need to set gain at all.
Right.
And
because the floating point part of it is the thing that sizes up the quantization.
Exactly.
To match what's coming in.
Exactly. And so imagine, you're holding the boom mic, you have the gain set fairly low because this guy's talking really loud, and then he starts whispering. What do you have to do? Well, you can either settle with the low quality audio you're going to get, or you could crank the gain. With this, you don't need to worry about that. That low volume is going to be recorded at the same exact quality as the high volume, but you don't even need to set the gain at all, and you don't have to be concerned that you're going to be getting everything that you want at the end of the day.
Now, I have to admit, intellectually, I kind of understood this, but I called kind of BS on what it meant practically.
Yeah.
Until you were kind enough to send me a file.
Yeah.
That was recorded at the minimum possible gain.
Yeah.
Like literally
the one thing to also note is when you're recording a 32-bit only file, to note you can also record a 24-bit file simultaneously, but you actually record post fader. Which seems counterintuitive. It's never been the way you want to do it. Right. However, because everything is recorded at the same quality, no matter where that fader was set, you can adjust it. So those files I sent you, one at the normal fader setting and one with the fader turned all the way down.
Right, and the normal fader setting was normal.
Yep.
The one turned all the way down was, I would say, 40 to 50 dB too low.
Yeah.
And I put it into the workstation, In my case, I used Audacity and normalized the volume, and I could not tell the difference.
Yeah.
It really was like a moment of magic.
Yeah, and that happened for me, like coming from the manufacturer side, and I think every audio engineer is going to need to have that moment. This is kind of a strange thing, but yeah, you can load it into your DAW, you can see nothing there, and when you normalize that file, you're going to get everything that you would have if you had the fader turned up.
So we should mention or reiterate, this is a timecode capable recorder. I mean, the form factor is such, I don't think people would put this on a cart.
Right.
But I can just out the gate imagine people using it in those situations where they'd use a so-called crash recorder.
Yeah.
Like Chris Monroe was talking about.
Yeah, taking F8Ns on the helicopter,
Yeah.
6 smaller rigs.
Right, or people loading it in the boot of a car for self-driving dialogue.
Yeah, and I would talk to one engineer. I liked this. Can you go record X?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to bring my huge bag, or I have my cart, but I want, I need my time code. I need the high quality. And so with such a small form factor, keeping it in your bag is not a problem, and being able to bring, the full quality that you would expect from all of your recorders to, on the boat, on a car, into a helicopter, into the subway station, where, notoriously you're trying to be low profile.
Right. You really don't have to pay attention to what level you're set.
Exactly. As long as it's turned on and you have mic or line level set correctly, you will get audio into that recorder.
And all of the timecode metadata and all of the usual, because this is a timecode capable recorder,
Yep.
all of that is preserved even though it's a 32-bit floating point.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's everything about the workflow is exactly the same. The only difference is that we have a 32-bit flow file that, if anything, just gives us more options in our post-production. Because we can trust that everything is going to be of the quality that we want.
That's right. All right. Well, I don't want to. I also don't want to confuse the issues. It does this sort of magical thing, but it also gives you a standard 24-bit file, and you can have both at the same time.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
You really don't lose anything.
Exactly. Yeah. You can do 32-bit only, 32-bit and 24, or 24-bit only.
And when is this shipping?
We expect mid-June.
And how much?
We don't know the price yet. We're expecting probably mid-May we'll be announcing the price.
And if you could reveal Zoom's roadmap for every single project you're working on live, will this work its way into future products, this technology?
It's not written on a piece of paper, but it just makes sense. Implementing this into, a primary bag recorder can make your life so much easier on set. It takes one step out of the process of setting gain, but it also takes a little bit of worry. You don't even have to set a limiter. You're not going to clip.
Right.
All these little things that kind of cascade down from the fact that you're recording at this higher bit depth can make it really easy for you.
I am very excited about this technology. Thank you for sharing.
All right, no problem. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, listening.
See you next time.